I got the paper to the admin packet to scan and upload, but because of my medical stuff, I was essentially out of the office the entire day yesterday.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know who's got it.
So, and then today was catch up. So tomorrow, I mean, it's just, and then I'll say, and Candace, please upload it like now, because now it is really on time. It's really on time right now. So it's 7:18, and do you want us to call the meeting to order? I'm going to call the meeting to order of the United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council's Planning and Zoning Committee special session, and I will share the agenda. And this is a special meeting for our Planning and Zoning Committee, rescheduled from July 3rd, which is ahead of us, but which, because of the holiday, July 4th holiday weekend, we are not able to have. And it's a more or less a one item agenda. And again, the reason being that this is time sensitive, since we have a governing board meeting on the 11th of July, and then there will be potentially a public hearing before we have another governing board meeting. So I've shared the agenda to the screen, and as you can see, we have a welcome and call to order. At the moment, I, Laura Myers, and Teresa Masonette are present, and we don't have anyone else present. And the next item would be general public comments. And the main item tonight is a look at the proposed citywide proposed landscape and site design ordinance, and then any follow-up to previous cases and adjournment. So, and I will quickly just mention that the UNNC standing rules for committee stakeholder voting, basically anyone who lives, works, attends school, attends church, owns property, whether or not you live here within the UNNC boundaries, and essentially or participates in a community interest organization, which would be defined as a nonprofit with a bricks and mortar address within the UNNC boundaries, and which has activities within our boundaries. And that's not an or, it's an and. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share on the agenda and ask if there are any general public comments. I actually have one.
Oh, okay.
So today was the official groundbreaking of the new affordable housing project between 3rd and 4th Avenue on Washington Boulevard. And you were called out by name as a community participant who helped to influence the project.
Oh my gosh.
By Tom Saffer.
Oh, is that right?
Not Saffer, by Tom Safra. I mean, the actual owner of TSA acted as a master of ceremonies. And he's a funny older man. As he said, I've been bumped up to the chair. I'm not the president anymore, Tom Safra. And we never do these groundbreakings, but this is a special situation because it was really complicated to put this project together. So Heather Hutt spoke. The whole series of people engaged in the financing and people who'll be helping, representing entities. So we'll be doing the permanent supportive services component, and the management of the property component. So it was interesting with a lovely lunch.
So Laura, when you say, so this is affordable housing and supportive housing?
It's complicated. So technically, to get the kind of approvals they needed and the kind of financing they needed, they almost didn't need to be or couldn't be 100% affordable on paper, even though they are. So it's a combination of different housing things. And it's part of the housing will be for formerly homeless, and part of and that will be the permanent supportive housing for people who are formerly previously homeless. So it's a little different than the Gramercy apartments, because half those units are for seniors who were recently homeless, but it's not permanent supportive housing. They're just regular seniors within the context of the building. So these people might be people who are more seriously on the streets for a much longer time. And so they have studio apartments, and then they have 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, and it's sort of sounding like the studios are for the permanent supportive housing. So it's an unusually
I'm just wondering
complex.
who, besides that group of residents, who are the other residents that they're hoping to?
Well, it will be low and very low income, or
So it's not
low
affordable.
income. It is affordable. It's low income. Well, no. So they're basically telling us publicly 2 different things because of just the way the financing is.
I'm just asking.
It's 100% affordable.
So when affordable, we talk about AMI.
Yeah, no, it'll be very low and extremely low. It will be
So it's
that.
not affordable. I mean, it's low and extremely low income housing. It is not for
Moderate, it's not workforce housing.
not workforce, okay.
Yeah, it's not moderate.
So we could actually, in a way, call it Section 8.
Well, they
Except-
actually, I'm not sure if it's gonna be voucher housing or not, which would be Section 8.
But-
Right,
The overall tenor and the people
Yeah.
would be similar.
right.
Okay.
But they're not 100% calling it that because they don't.
Because of the financing, because of the.
Right, and they're gonna
dynamics that
have,
to go
they're
with
gonna have,
housing.
and they're gonna have the whole first level facing the street is actual retail. So unlike Gramercy Housing, again, remember, they have some of their social services at the retail level.
Right.
This is not. This supportive services will not be at the retail level.
Okay.
So it's
And
just
what type of
different.
retail do they think they'll have?
They didn't really discuss that
But what
today.
type do you think?
Well, they want what they want or what they'll get. They wanted to have a restaurant, just like every other affordable housing project. I mean, they are all showing cafes and restaurants, but I think one of the reasons why they're maybe not saying it's all low, all very low, is because they know, just like everybody else has learned, it's really difficult to get a restaurant if that's in fact who the residents
The
are.
residents are, right.
So I'm not clear, but where I was having discussions with them is I would say, I'm gonna remind you what the big community asks were. Native plants, native trees, and the angled parking between the alley and Washington.
Yes.
And I had a couple private conversations, but it was all to the effect of, you need to start now. You need to talk to DOT, Bureau of Engineering, and the council office. If you need a letter from the UNNC, we will do it, but don't wait till the project's done. This is gonna take a while, and unless you wanna, like in the middle of the night, just paint the stripes on the street, which of course, no, they can't do.
Yes.
You know, this is not gonna be a simple task, but it's an important. And then they said the landscape architect that they hired is big on native.
Okay.
So, but, you know, I did say in a live oak, they said, there's probably not enough room.
I don't think so.
And the other thing, remember we got the notice on the tree removal at 4th Avenue?
Yes.
It's not gonna be there. It's on 3rd Avenue, it's a much smaller tree. The
Okay.
transformer's gonna be on the other side.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with LADWP transformers, and the requirement, to have them facing the street or.
Right, but they've come to some sort of agreement where it's not on 4th Avenue, it is
Okay.
literally on 3rd.
Okay, that's fine, but I'm just,
Yeah.
as a separate note, that there are a lot of many times trees have to be removed because of
Mhm.
LADWP transformers, and there's been discussions about that.
Right, okay, so that's my very long-winded public comment. And so it was very nice, and you were right, nobody else from UNNC came.
Even
But also I was right because they.
Did Grace,
She was unable to,
okay,
but
I
it
wish
turned
I had
out that, the people who were invited were literally who they wanted to invite, because the council office had given them the names. They gave them your name, my name, Paula's
Oh.
name, and John's name. That was that.
Oh,
So
I
as
wish
it
I had
turned,
known.
well,
that
I didn't-
was really-
I didn't know either. They actually said it to me. It was Hakeem and Danielle,
Oh,
and then Heather.
oh,
So,
well,
it would have been nice if
did you,
they.
did you? I hope you did, Laura.
I didn't get to speak.
No, but you did give them my apologies for not being
Yes.
there, okay.
Yes. I gave him yours and John's. I didn't give him Paula's because
Yeah.
I don't know what hers. I mean, Okay, so moving on, we're going to do the landscape ordinance. So how do we wish to do this? I mean, in other words, do I want to show something on this?
Yeah, I say pull it up, Laura.
The fact sheet or the
Pull up
ordinance? Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a long document, but we could go through it quickly, because
Okay.
it's just you and I.
Since it is just you and I, we can also make it a little smaller.
Yes, because I have a hard
Right.
copy right here, so. Actually, it's
How many pages is this?
I don't know.
29. Okay, I know the answer.
I'm-
But we can scroll pretty quickly through some of this.
Actually, I don't even have that portion.
We probably didn't print it.
No, this is something else that I have, so, no.
Is this
Okay,
Is this starting where you have it?
no, I guess I'm starting from summary. Which,
Tell me you have a page number at the bottom?
yes, but it's page 1.
Well, that's
So-
weird.
So, see, it's
Huh.
an actual document with the graphs on it, with the page numbers. I mean, with the
Okay, so I'm
Categories.
guessing that's a different,
landscape and site design ordinance draft for public review.
so it does seem, but it's not this.
No, I don't, 27 pages, keep going. I wish I had known.
Because it does, I mean, the title's right.
Yes, keep going, maybe it's deeper and more where they actually have the. Yeah, you have a little ways to go.
Okay. You think they did the summary second? Oh, wait, I'm gonna just skip through fast. No.
I just keep going.
Because I do have a fact sheet too, so that's,
Yeah, because now you're coming on page 22.
yeah, I'm getting near the end.
Yeah, but you said it was 29 pages?
Yes, see how it says
We're
on
gonna look
the,
just a little bit lower. I mean. Am I looking at?
oh. Coming to the end here.
Okay. There's fees, we're talking about fees. So mine is just, the document I'm looking at is the point system.
Oh, well, that's a separate doc.
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
I have a point system
Oh, yes,
document
well,
too.
sorry, Laura, then, yeah.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, that's,
Okay, so going to, what am I doing?
I'm gonna share.
No, I know, but I haven't unshared yet. Okay, stop share. Okay. Yeah. Okay,
So most of these, I'm gonna take some notes, which I can put together and email to you, so we can, and one of them, like, we mentioned where do the in lieu fees end up?
right.
And then wherever they go, how are they reallocated for trees?
Right. Right, so that in other words, ideally, the monies that go into this in lieu
will be used for,
literally for trees.
yes. And I believe they are, I just don't know the process for that. And I don't know if it's a fund, like the Quimby fees, they go into a fund that the council district can use at their discretion. So to go into a fund and CD10 can use at their discretion for a tree planting or beautification project.
Well, you see, and that's what I'm trying to get at. If it's like, somebody's building a project on the corner of Washington and Fifth, and they can't put in any trees for whatever reason, or can't put, they can't, for whatever reason, they need to do in lieu fees for trees. I would like to have those trees planted somewhere in the,
I believe
Donna's here.
that is normally the case. They try to do it within a few blocks.
Right.
But sometimes you can't, so
Right.
I'm not quite sure how it works. So,
Right, because I know with Quimby, unfortunately, it isn't mandatory that you actually spend it right in the parks, right near the project.
but within the council district though,
Yes.
I think so. I mean, I spoke with
Hi Donna.
I don't know if she can hear us. I emailed Kenneth Mejia to ask him if they're gonna do an audit of the committee fees. So we're doing audits on everything. I'd just like to know.
Sorry, hello, everybody.
Hi Donna. So we're talking about the one thing that's on the agenda is the proposed landscape and site design ordinance, and we're looking at a document called Landscape and Site Design Point System, which is part of the ordinance.
Okay,
So caught us in the middle of that.
okay, sure. Thank you for letting me know.
So anyway, I wanna find out about those fees.
Right.
And where they are and, how.
Right.
Is it a site where you can go and you can see the amount that was collected and how they were dispersed?
And then once this system is set up, I'd want there to be that kind of transparency.
Yeah, they are creating a dashboard.
Okay.
So, and as I mentioned before, I'm really happy that UFD has to sign off before you get your permits, before it's signed off by planning.
Right.
UFD has to sign off. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
on page 3,
of this.
yeah, that's where we start talking, I guess page 4 would be.
Okay. So 2, 3.
So this first section is about a pedestrian first design.
Mm-hmm.
And number B says curb cut reduction. And you can get you have an opportunity to get 1 or 2 points. You get 1 point if you don't introduce a new driveway, just stay with the same driveway. But if you remove a driveway, then you can get 2 points. So, I mean, just.
Yeah, so by way of example, Washington and Fourth Avenue is removing a driveway.
Right, so in this case, they would get 2 points.
If they did it, yeah.
Right, you have to, the goal is to get 27 points
Okay.
and not to lose any points. So on page 5.
And the purpose of that is the fewer the driveways, the more you can have trees.
Right, you can have a contiguous parkway. Where you
And
can
also trees are not allowed within X feet of a driveway.
have a driveway,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
And then if you go to bottom page 5, this is.
Oh, well, I was saying, I like number C, which has nothing to do with trees.
Yeah, no, let's.
But I like to have ride share
So wait,
in lieu of doing a driveway for ride share.
would they do a dedication for that? How would that work for rideshare? Or, I mean, dedication is when you move it in.
No, it's just saying striping it white, passenger loading, instead of striping it unstriped. I mean, in
Okay,
other
so
words,
it'd still be a straight.
yeah, it'd be a
curve,
regular curb, but it would be like in front of a church, you will often see a white line, and that's for it's not commercial loading.
Right.
It's just for passengers getting in and out of vehicles. I mean, it's.
So you like the white line for
I
rideshare?
mean, I actually like the rideshare to be on a site. If there is already a driveway, I like it to be, you know, on a site. But I would prefer that it be something and not nothing, because it's so dangerous for them to be double parking
Yes.
for the people and for other cars.
And what would happen if there is, in that white zone, that would be another barrier to planting a tree, right?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you have to open the car door, people have to be able to get out. I mean, I don't know. I'm just
I don't
asking
think
a
it's a
question.
barrier.
Okay,
I mean, I think it's like no, what it would be a barrier to is community support, because that it does take away a parking space,
okay.
essentially. But because you're not allowed to park where it's white.
But that's on the, oh, you mean community supports, it's because the community may
Because
want to park out
the
there.
community is so worried these days. You know, there's so many ordinances and state legislation taking away parking before people have given up their cars. But something like this enables people who live in a building to say, I won't need a car. I can easily access a rideshare option.
That's a
So-
good idea, okay. Why don't we just go through all of them, I mean, if we can, Laura.
Sure.
Quickly. So D is the use of alleys or side streets for vehicle ingress and egress. So you get 1 or 2 points depending on how you design that. Number E, minimize driveway widths and access lanes, so why is this,
There must flip on to the next page.
yeah,
I was gonna say, there's no there, okay, so. I don't understand it.
well, it seems,
They're trying to minimize driveway widths. This, I don't think a lot of people are gonna utilize that because it precludes certain vehicles. Anyway,
number H is bicycle parking, which, by the way, I sent, you remember Taylor? I sent him an email the other day because Metro is doing something, and I said, oh, I know you just had a baby, but if you have any time, you might be interested in this.
and he does still own property.
Does he not live there anymore?
No, they moved.
Oh, yeah, where they?
Well, they had the baby.
Yeah,
I think they moved to Venice.
oh, is that right?
Something Mar Vista, Venice.
No,
But,
but they're renting it out?
mhm.
So these are just additional points. So the top of page 7. 1.2, quality public realm improvements, new trees. So each project should provide at least 1 street tree per 30 linear feet. There was big discussion of this because they said a minimum 24-inch box. Nobody likes 24-inch box because
It's too big.
it's too big, but that's,
Yeah, that was discussed at the presentation. I mean, people were saying that.
um,
So this is like balancing instant canopy and healthy trees, or do 15-inch
well, the
grow
problem
just
with
as
the-
well?
No, the problem with planting a smaller tree is that it's more susceptible to damage.
Right.
Just, somebody pushing it, somebody kicking it, somebody pulling on it. So if you have a larger tree in a 24-inch box, it has a thicker trunk. The problem is that it takes longer to acclimate. So if you plant a 15-gallon and a 24-inch, within a year, 2 years, they're both gonna be the same size because that younger tree is gonna put out roots and it's gonna grow faster.
So how do you protect the smaller tree so it becomes the larger tree?
They won't do it. It's just not recommended.
Well, but these are the developers. I mean, these are private developments, so.
But we're talking about street trees here, so.
Yes, I understand, but to be planted by a project, my whole.
Right.
How do you
I guess-
encourage those people to do whatever it takes to keep the trees growing?
The 24-inch or just trees in general?
15, I'm saying 15. The skinnier ones that are more likely to get damaged. is there anything in, I mean, in other words, is there anything in this ordinance that requires replacement if there's damage to those trees in the first X number of years or
If
ever?
you scroll down, the developer shall
Where are we?
certify, number 3 under notes. It's on page 7, I believe.
Oh, it's back on 7.
Yeah. Under the, okay,
Let's see notes.
there's A, go down, right?
Oh,
above
notes.
Okay. The developer, the tree size, blah, 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 but if you go down just a little bit further. Okay, I don't know where you.
Oh, there we are. It's top
Okay.
of 8.
Oh, okay. The developer shall certify through a covenant and agreement that installed street trees will be irrigated for 5 years as required for establishment and to maintain ongoing tree health and viability, and shall provide a maintenance plan as part of the application.
So, shouldn't they be,
And that's
hang
mandatory.
on, shouldn't it be, shall have, that installed street trees shall have installed irrigation, comma, will be irrigated for 5 years, comma, and shall provide a maintenance plan?
I don't know if all trees need irrigation. Why, if you use a native tree, after 5 years, it's gonna be established and it won't need irrigation. So
Okay.
why would I go through the added expense of, I don't know how expensive it is, just to be
It's
clear,
probably a lot.
to put in irrigation. So-
Right, but on the other hand, if it's, they're not gonna be required to do a native tree. So what if they do a pretty tree,
But
and won't it need irrigation permanently?
I don't think so. I think 5 years,
For any tree?
I think so. I mean, unless we have severe drought,
Well,
most of the trees that UFD allows you to plant
mhm.
will be established within 5 years. And they will be able to, they will have adjusted to our climate and will be, and should be thriving by that point. There are people who want to plant native shrubs in the parkway, the UFD won't let them do it, even though they certainly could be established. An African fern, pine, jacarandas, they're not native, but within 5 years, they are established. So,
So I guess I'm asking a more broad tree question. So you're saying trees like jacaranda or flowering pears, which do pretty good as street trees, or magnolias, which don't, but, you know, or the,
yeah, if they have enough
but
space,
those,
they could be.
but those trees with the pink flowers, after 5 years, they don't need any irrigation?
They don't. They are acclimated unless we have a drought, like we had.
We had a
drought.
7-year drought.
Yeah,
And we
and
lost a
we
lot of
lost
trees.
So
Right.
that is,
So that's what I'm saying, why, in an ordinance, shouldn't there be in these notes? And, I mean, in other words, if we have another drought, this will be insufficient. How do we protect against insufficiency?
I don't know, if you.
That's a question, I guess.
Okay,
You know, I mean, we've experienced the loss of 50% of the trees we planted on Washington. I know there's a variety of reasons, but the lack of water is a good one. You know what I mean? It's like some of the trees are doing really well and some few are doing very well and most are not.
so what is your question?
I'm asking Laura,
Oh.
the trees on Washington, did they have any maintenance plan?
I don't even remember, you know, this was
I don't
This
think
was
they
a-
did.
a project that Andrea Dunlop and
Yeah, I remember.
Jessica.
I've been
And so
around.
I don't remember, but obviously some of the trees had better maintenance, however they had better maintenance than others did.
I think
you
for a
know.
while they did the watering, but there was not a specific 5-year plan.
No, that is correct. And in fact, Elizabeth, bless her heart, Elizabeth did watering for quite some time along with a couple of other people because there was also we had a water pump thing until
Yeah.
somebody checked it out, if you recall, from UNNC and to parts unknown,
Well,
which seems to happen to a lot of our equipment.
you watch Culver City's trees along Washington. They go along. If you're driving, you may get behind one of the trucks.
Right,
They water the trees in the median.
Mhm.
right.
There's an
Yes.
ongoing maintenance. I'm not sure whether we can learn from them. I'm just running my mouth, but I did want to
Well,
let you know that's something.
maybe it should be providing an ongoing maintenance plan.
It says ongoing tree
Not-
health and viability.
No, I understand, but it's like this word, the way this is written, it feels like they're saying for only 5 years. And I think maybe it's the irrigation is only 5 years, but the maintenance and the ongoing tree health and viability should be a longer term. So however that could be rewritten.
So what happens after 5 years?
Mhm.
The trees in the parkway become the responsibility of the city. They're no longer the responsibility of the building. They belong to the city.
And is that a part of this, or is this?
Well, that's-
Is it, but I'm asking, does this proposed ordinance amend that to make it not the city's responsibility at 5 years, or does it acknowledge that?
I don't know if it acknowledges it, but it doesn't need to amend it. It is what it is.
Well, it
After
could
5
amend it
years-
if what we wanted to say is, starting now with this ordinance. I mean, in other words, it's a question, it's a
Right.
good point, is because the city, it may be city's responsibility, but the city doesn't have the ability to water, trim,
Set-
and maintain
just
all
set
of the
them-
trees.
Set them on fire because they're not going to do anything.
Well, right, so the question would be, since we're going to this trouble of creating this, do we want to change whose responsibility at what time period, change the time period, if that's doable?
No, it is not doable. It is the city's responsibility to
At-
take care of
at
the
year
trees at
5.
5 years. But the problem is that, and they want a maintenance and a pruning cycle to be 5 to 7 years. It's 17 years now. And the budget cuts just got rid of 2 UFD tree trimming teams.
Mhm.
So it requires funding. If you want our trees to survive and to be pruned every 5 years, then we have to fund that. So,
Correct. So why are we cutting off the developer's requirement at 5 years, knowing on a practical reality, we can't guarantee that the city has any ability at year 6 to start taking care of it, even though that's the law. What you're saying is that's the law.
I don't know, well, maybe we should say as long as, you would, I don't know.
I mean, in
what
other
language
words,
it says,
they
as long
may,
as they,
well, see, they may not realize what you said. I mean,
no, yes, they
do.
absolutely.
no, UFD does, but does
No,
Michelle?
of course she does. She came to two
Okay.
CPAC meetings, she knows. But
Mhm.
maybe there's some legal reason why they can't say that. But we can certainly say,
We can,
we would, our recommendation,
Right.
one of the recommendations is that the developer maintain the tree as long as necessary.
right,
It's their responsibility as long as necessary. So you always use that example on the corner of Jefferson and
Crenshaw,
Crenshaw.
the 8 required trees are no more.
Right.
And they were supposed to have a canopy of this blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's all in the variance.
Right.
It's part of the conditions of the project,
And that had nothing to do, if that is a condition for that project, then that could supersede what the city's responsibility is, your stores. So we could certainly add something like that.
Right. And listen, we can preface our letter, when we write a letter or give testimony. It's like, what we have the experience here of, on the one experience we have is that this neighborhood council planted 100 trees and the city did not take over responsibility at year 5 and water and maintain them, and we lost half of them. We've lost half of them, many of which were lost in the drought. Others were just lost.
So
And similarly, we had a development that was.
do you want to say for the life of the tree or for what?
Well, for the life of the entitlements for the project,
Okay.
right? I mean, in other words, different projects do or don't have entitlements.
Right.
But entitlements are to be permanent, so should, if trees are part of the entitlements, then there needs to be trees permanently.
Okay.
So if if this says essentially, Mr. Developer, you need to plant 3 trees. Or Miss Developer, you need to plant 3 trees. And they need to be the type that provide a canopy, blah, blah, blah. And in 5 years' time, the city will take over, but you remain obligated to have 3 trees. So if for whatever reason the city fails,
Right.
you're gonna plant another tree
Or-
and take care of it for 5 more years.
Yes, or if a car destroys it because it crashed.
That happens. So how do we build that into this ordinance? That the requirement to have those trees does not disappear if for whatever reason the tree disappears, you need to plant another tree.
Right. Now,
You
remember
can
what,
say maybe 3 flourishing trees, or, yes. Even if you lose one, you gotta put another one back. There has to be 3 trees that are
Right,
flourishing, or whatever you wanna call it, I don't know.
right.
so this is a point system, so what
I understand.
we want to,
This is the initial point. I understand that this is a point system, so this, I may be referring to, this is still referring to something that's in the other part of the ordinance.
Right.
So we need to correlate we need to correlate this
with that,
with that.
right, okay.
But I think what we've experienced is the loss and not the replacement of
Right.
trees. Okay.
The bus stops,
I don't,
I don't know, they're just talking about bus stops. Oh, Laura, could you just go back for a second? It says, you asked about the in lieu fee.
where is it?
That's under A, still under A. So existing tree canopy and landscape parkways shall preserve unless removal is permitted by urban forestry, street trees
Where,
must.
I'm not seeing.
Number A, existing tree canopy number 1.
Yeah, shall be preserved.
Right. When, number 3, when required trees cannot be physically accommodated in the public right of way due to city determined physical constraints, a tree planting guarantee fee, the in lieu fee, shall be paid to the Board of Public Works pursuant to the development tree planting.
So we want to see where that money really goes.
Right, where within the
Board of Public Works.
Yeah,
And if it is not going to giving more trees to the community in which the fee was paid, then we want somehow,
we want to know where that, yeah,
you know, and how can that language be adjusted?
right.
If-
Now, I will say that,
Because urban forestry is in the Board of Public Works, right?
yes, they're under street services.
Right.
So, a year or so ago, there's a fund, another in lieu fund, but this one was for, the valley
Mhm.
and an oak woodland area. And they could not, accommodate the oak trees, so they planted them. City forest officer went through Public Works to request that she plants them in South LA because we need canopy. And they lost their mind because
Well,
they were
I
like,
was gonna
"Oh,
say,
that's our
well, that's-
money, that's our."
Right, and I actually like the idea if we get trees, but I would be on their side because it should have gone into Encino
Yeah.
or wherever, you know.
Right, but that money was in.
I know,
The mile, so the city forest officer decided that this area was more because of equity issues and because of the need to deal with the heat situation that we have here compared to
Well, they
that
have a lot of
area.
heat in that area too,
Yeah.
but yes.
But, so anyway,
So,
so
well,
there's a
I-
pot of money and I don't know how it works out, but it's in Public Works, so
Okay,
that answers your question.
right.
All right.
Semi-answers,
Right,
but,
okay.
but yes. So it brings another question, which is what is LAMC section 62.177B?
Maybe it's in the other ordinance, in the
Yeah.
greater ordinance.
Okay,
Let's see.
okay, so we're still here. We're going back to bus stops,
Yes.
back to ground floor.
Number D is interesting, creative public realm improvements.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything for trees on it, but it's still, awnings that shade the sidewalk.
Well,
So this is an opportunity to get 2 extra points, because remember, we're looking at how to get points So if you get a sufficient amount, then you can get your project approved.
Right.
So if you do one of these things, you can get 2 points.
Right, and we're often asking people to do the second bullet point, traffic calming improvements such as a curb extension or a slow point. Because we've asked on several projects, did not achieve it, that they bump out so people only turn right and don't turn left into the, or vice versa,
Right.
into the residential areas. So now they'd have an incentive to build a little bump out because they could get 2 points.
Right.
You know,
It's just,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I like green alleys, bioswales.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like some of those are worth more than 2 points. If you do a green alley or a bioswale, why can't you get 3 or 4 points? Just,
I don't.
yeah, I don't know. No, these are rhetorical questions.
So we were talking about the transformers. Yes, the project installs utilities and transformers entirely below finished grade in a vault or encloses the transformers within the building. Now that's what I would like, because right now,
They're ugly.
they're right, you know,
But you know what? The that doesn't help completely.
Well-
It helps aesthetically,
yes.
but it's still, especially doing below grade in a
That's,
vault, you still can't plant a tree above it.
no, but when that CIM building, I remember when John was going over the design with them, they did move it out of the visual view. So, no, maybe we can't put a tree,
Right.
but it looks,
Well, you could put plants in rolling pots, although I guess it's not too safe to have a rolling pot in commercial space. But yes.
okay, anyway, but that.
But what's interesting is, doesn't LADWP have a big role in saying where you can put it?
They do, I think they're saying that,
You have to know what LADWP is
What the
gonna say
requirements are.
before you go much farther. Okay.
So next, these are all just kind of.
Yeah, these are kind of the
Yeah.
same stuff we talk about all the
Right.
time. And in fact, most of our CPIO regulations require, whoops, here I go. Okay, I've lost something.
But just stop the share and go back.
I guess so. Sorry. Anyway, like transparency, 50% of the ground floor, that's already embedded on our most of our commercial corridors. So they get the points for following the rules that are already there. Okay.
And this one I thought was kind of interesting. We're on page 10,
Nice.
site content.
Yes.
There's sensitive uses. No, so it would be, there it is.
There it is.
So you know that building on 10th Avenue near the highway, near the freeway? If, in this case, if they were to put up a buffer along the freeway, they would get one additional point. A buffer with a dense canopy of trees, they would get an additional point. I don't know.
Well, you know which this is applicable to is the CIM project at 24th and Western.
Oh,
Because its
exactly.
north side is absolutely within 1,000 feet of a freeway.
And I think they are putting up trees along, they're putting
They
up some
are,
kind of
they're
green.
putting up a green buffer there.
Yeah. So that's another way for somebody to get some. Number F, just for its trash and recycling areas, all trash collection and storage areas are located such they are not visible from the public realm, with the exception of alleys, so that's another way.
And it's interesting, that one's not mandatory. Some of these in the right-hand column
Yeah.
are marked as mandatory, this one's not mandatory. Okay.
get an extra point for number H if you do adaptive reuse. Oh, historic resources, did you see?
Well, that's interesting. If the project's located adjacent to historic resources, an analysis of existing historic resources has been included. See, they, at the moment, do not require that. They always say things that are adjacent don't count. So.
So you get an extra point if you're willing to.
Love to make that one mandatory. But
You're well,
I know.
if.
I mean,
gonna
this
give
is
you-
good enough. No, this one's good enough.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'd like to make that one mandatory, but I think the fact that they're even adding this is somebody's gonna question it.
So next, A 2.2, A.
Well, I'm looking at
Oh.
J.
Oh, sorry.
You know, again, our CPIOs, which should govern this too, would not allow blank walls.
It goes on to talk about murals.
No, I understand, but it's saying this one's not mandatory.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not mandatory.
Because remember, these are, it's okay. These are ways for you to get points.
I understand.
So,
Yeah, no, I understand. So,
I mean,
okay.
I mean, if you
Well, it's
want to
interesting.
identify the ones that you want to be mandatory.
No, I'm just saying, I don't even understand why this exists, because it must be in other parts of town, they don't have those kind of regulations. Meaning you could not propose a project anywhere in UNNC at this point that has long blank walls. They have to be modulated. So, but that may not be true elsewhere.
Yeah. Right. So number A is surface vehicle parking. If the project includes surface parking of more than 4 vehicle parking spaces, parking shall be screened from the public street
Right,
by means of a minimum 4-foot wide.
yeah,
Okay.
that is
Includes
mandatory,
ground cover and landscaping and trees.
Right.
So,
and it's mandatory.
okay.
Okay.
You get additional 3 points if the project provides 0 vehicle parking or provides all vehicle parking below grade.
Okay.
EV, you get points for EV. Number G, underground parking structures have a 5 feet setback, a 5 foot, setback from the property line below grade to accommodate planting of trees at the ground level and future root spread. You get 2 additional points for that.
Right. Yeah, see, now again, I would say I would have preferred, like so many others, I prefer that 0-foot setbacks just simply not be allowed, right? And that the walls of the building, everything needs to be included under this, but meaning that this is a great idea, but I think there shouldn't be any situation where there's 0-foot setbacks, except for at the front, because, commercial, so we can have the green space. What's happened, I think, where this is referring to is that the buildings have the setbacks, but they're building the garages out to the property lines. And that's what happened on Wilton Place. So 1537 Wilton Place, which is just about completed, they didn't ask to reduce their side yard setbacks, but it turns out that the structural component of the garage goes all the way to the edge. So they took out all the trees that were on the shared line. That was the one where they hadn't even mentioned they were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then big fight with the elderly lady.
Right.
And they're gone and they haven't compensated her.
Oh,
And they said, because she shouldn't have planted them on the property line. Well, you should remove them, they're shared trees, I mean,
Yeah.
but it's a private issue.
right, those were
They were
those 2, those are those guys.
those guys. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yes.
it's an ongoing dispute because the trees are all gone and they didn't give her anything to
Yeah.
replace on her property. So
yes, you
so
would
I think
like
that's
zero, but
good.
yes, but,
But I feel like, I just feel like this should be a mandatory. I mean, in other words,
but I want you, Laura, we can write the letter and make her suggestions, and we can say mandatory. I mean, I'll give you this, but it's
Sure.
all highlighted and you can
Okay.
come in it and then put the ones that you want to be mandatory. We can say
Yes.
this is amended and we would like
and
these
we've
to be
heard it
mandatory.
repeatedly from community members and at, both local and at citywide meetings,
Yes.
that these parking garages, should be shalls.
Yeah,
Should be shalls,
Yeah.
because we've had people, well, that's the reason why the Olympic oak is dying or dead, because
They put all those, is it really dying?
Yeah,
Oh,
but I think the Huntington cloned it.
okay,
Well,
that's
it's not really okay, but
But no, but I know
the
they cemented
adjacent,
the,
yes, that's part of the problem. And then they refused to uncement it, there was a lot of things.
Yeah.
But how it started dying was the next door property did a thing and it damaged its roots.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not just the setback, it's like, it's the, if you
yes,
have
but how do you, besides making it mandatory, which I'm fine with, and making it 5 feet,
yeah, not 10, not 30.
Yeah.
Just 5.
a tree, the roots could still die.
I know that.
Yeah, so.
I'm aware of it, but there's a better chance if it's not just some giant tree right on the property line. There's a better chance it could survive it.
Okay, so I'll give you this, Lauren, you
Yeah,
can go
sure.
through, I know there are 3 things so far that you said
Okay.
mandatory. You know what, I'll just put a little asterisk next to the ones.
Right.
What, do you remember the other ones, Laura, by chance?
I don't.
Okay.
But we'll find them
Yeah.
again. I mean, just so we can keep moving forward
Yeah.
on this.
Page
Yeah, so
15,
number
D.
H, where they say shared use parking,
Uh-huh,
the real phrase is joint/shared use parking. I don't know why they don't call it that, because they've been doing experiments in Northeast LA. It's called joint shared use parking. So
okay.
I
What
think,
does that mean?
well, it means what it's saying. It's just that technically it already has a name,
Oh, okay.
which is joint/shared use parking. So that, in other words, a project here can also help the restaurant there. So they do joint shared use parking on commercial strips so that there can be parking that accommodates 3 different projects.
Okay, okay.
So that is what it is,
You
but,
just want the correct name.
well,
Okay.
let's have the same name from ordinance to ordinance.
Okay. So, 3 is climate resilient buildings, then it's D, is the one I would like to,
Okay.
solar orientation and shade. 2 points, if you, a minimum of 1 shade tree or a tall shrub, nobody likes the shrub, I'll just tell you, but that can reach a minimum of 15 to 20 feet high, shall be planted every 25 linear feet along the south and west exposed sides of the structure. Existing street trees that shade the building can be used to satisfy this requirement. You
So
get 2 points for that?
this is good. Should it also define the canopy and not just the height?
Hmm,
And again,
no,
I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I'm just asking a question.
I don't know, I mean, it's something that's 15 or 20 feet tall.
It's gonna shade.
It's gonna give you some shade. You know, some will give you more, some will give you less, but even crepe myrtle, if you just let it grow.
Oh, yes.
It'll give you some shade, so.
Well, not only that, if you just let it grow, it's
Yeah.
gonna give birth to babies. But yeah, okay.
And then number G, living roofs. The project landscape plan specifies installation of continuous or tray modular living roof for at least 50% area, blah, 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 blah. So,
Does anybody have a living roof that's 20 years old to know what happens to your roof if you have a living roof for 20 years? And I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what happens when you need to replace your roof?
I don't know. I mean, I've had a roof deck before with potted trees. And you know, you just,
Yeah, but a living roof is a particular
where it's
thing.
actually growing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, the soil.
Is on the
yeah.
roof, yeah.
I'm sure there's some particular design element that,
Allows you to replace your roof.
well, or
Well, I mean, the
it's a
trade
50-year. I
yeah,
mean, it's gotta be
it's gotta be a
a long.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and probably LAMC section 57.317 deals with that. Okay.
Alright. So I don't know, you may find this interesting, 3.2 site amenities, oh
Oh,
no,
no, I'm still looking at J.
okay,
Well, that's easy peasy. All managers should do that
yes.
because frankly, your property won't stink if you're smoke free. Okay, moving on.
A residential project or mixed-use project with residential components provide at least 3 amenities, and I don't know,
From the director's list of
Yeah.
site amenities, do we have that list anywhere?
I don't. But it is mandatory, and you get 3 points from the
Okay.
board, so,
I don't want to click through right now since we're on Zoom.
yeah. And then number B is more about, open spaces.
Well, again, if you visualize Gramercy Apartments, they have the,
But it is not open, it is not
No.
public space. It's not, I mean, it's not public to,
no, not their interior space,
Oh.
but that plaza on the front and on each side, they have seating.
yeah,
And let me tell you, people are seated in the seating all the time on on Wilton and on Gramercy.
are the residents or non-residents?
Mostly not.
Non-residents, okay, okay.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not there during the day, so I don't know if the seniors take advantage of it at all. I mean, I'm looking at it and I will say I have to have a conversation with whoever, because the sidewalk needs power washing.
I didn't want to say anything to her, but I'm like, why did she let that happen? Because I know that those ficus drop those berries and they
Well,
just.
I'm saying I've got gum, I mean, on the Gramercy side,
Oh, okay.
there's gum and scuzz.
Oh.
From the people
Yeah, but that's
spilled
the
beer.
front, the
Well,
front,
the front is the trees, but the
Yes, but-
sides are the,
but it's been compacted and it
Yes.
doesn't have to be.
no, it
that
needs to
way.
be power washed.
Yeah,
I might just mention it too,
Letty, oh no, Sarah,
yeah.
okay.
not as a
Um,
criticism, as a, is there budget for this?
So the public open space, they need at least one non-palm tree for every 1,000 square feet.
Oh,
So,
to get points,
yes, to get 2 points.
right,
I mean, it's a way to get points.
right. So most properties don't have any of these. It's not very usual to have that public open space.
So 3.3, hold on, conservation. If you complete a tree disclosure statement, which you are required to do, you have to get 1 point. The tree report, it says yes, if applicable, so that's also mandatory, you get an additional point with that.
How do you know if it's applicable?
Because if you're building and there aren't any trees on it, then you don't have to do a tree.
Ah, got it.
So this tree survey is in particular for the open lots, like in the hills or the valley where people want to come in and build something. They have to do that survey and identify all the trees that are on there. So if you remove a significant tree, which is 8 inches, I think it's 10 inches diameter,
Right,
or
right.
10 inches or greater, you lose a point.
Okay, so this is unclear. Do you lose a point for each tree?
No, you do not lose it for each tree. You just
Well, that would be a comment.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you lose a point for each significant tree? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because, let me just say, Orion, the same company that's 3812 West Allis, and other 81, they also have a proposed commercial hotel that's being fought because people want affordable housing on Vermont, on the former site of the library on Vermont across from UNC. And it has 19 century-old pine trees.
Oh, and they want to cut them down?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And they're at, when I say century, I've got photos, I think they're a century and a half old.
Wow.
From the original guy who developed the 120 acres. Yeah, it was his homestead's not even the right word, but
Yeah.
Victorian era guy. So, it's one of the things that is just annoying about living in a modern world. Somehow they were able to build a library without removing the trees. Okay. So these,
Yeah, and then D goes on to say that if you put in two 48-inch boxes with, no one,
no one would plant a 48.
no, you would not, but the fact that they put that down as an option, I'm gonna mention.
Yeah, I would say 36 and 48 so
Yeah.
are choices. So is there really such a thing as a 36 or a 48 inch
Oh,
that you can buy?
sure. You can get a tree this big in a box, 96 inches.
And how big would the tree itself
Oh,
be?
it would be 20 feet tall.
And why wouldn't you do that?
Because,
Aside from it would be $10,000 or
Yeah.
$50,000 or.
well, the reason why, when people build a brand new house, they want it to be beautiful and have trees and, not wait 10 or 15 years to get a beautiful canopy. So there are nurseries that provide moon glow nurseries.
Moon glow.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have huge trees. But it takes so long. First of all, a tree that's been living in a box like that, who knows what the roots are like? You'd want to say that the nursery has been moving them up as they've gotten larger.
Well, and is cognizant that if they sell a tree for $40,000
Oh, yeah,
and
they're
it
gonna have
dies within a year, they're
Oh,
gonna
sure.
need to replace it.
Right. But what was your question, Lars?
Yeah, but, do developers really buy them? And if yes, what's wrong, what would be wrong with it, I guess?
Well, the main thing for me is that it takes too long for it to acclimate. Do you know what I mean? If someone wanted to do it and a developer wanted to pay the money, it would give you green and it would look beautiful. It would just require a lot of hands-on
Well, and I would also think,
nursing to make sure that it's acclimating, that the roots are, expanding outside that root zone that it's been in for a long time.
if it was a rose bush, let's say, you have to, it's had this hole, you're spending a lot more money on the hole than the bush, right? So it's gotta be twice as deep and twice as wide and double dug, for the rose. So wouldn't that also be
It's the
true?
same case for a tree.
So
It's twice as wide and twice as deep.
So twice the width of 48 is not 80, it's more than 48 twice, because it's 48 that way, and 48 that way, and 48 that way.
Yeah,
And down as well, twice as deep.
right.
So,
I don't know if you
I don't know
go
how-
twice as deep though, because you don't want the roots to be lower than the ground level.
no, you wouldn't put the tree twice as deep, the hole underneath
Oh.
the tree, and then amend it.
Oh.
And where's the darn taproot in all of this?
Well, it depends, and that's the thing, is it,
Because it hasn't been,
right,
Yeah.
because some trees don't have taproot. Some trees send out their roots, are shallow rooted and they send them out this way. If it's a taprooted tree, maybe you can't even get it in a 48-inch
Right.
box because they will just,
be dead.
yeah.
Long dead, okay. So do you wanna do something about this section?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna say no 48-inch boxes. I'm gonna say no larger than 24-inch boxes.
Well, but there's gonna be, again, visualize the valley, when they have a development that's on a huge Warner Center kind of
Yeah,
thing, so it may be they've got the space.
yes, but
And
it's
I
still
understand the growing issue.
establishment, yeah. For me, that's, And also, if you retain all of the significant trees, you get additional 3 points. So that,
Yeah.
those pines that you're talking about, they would get 3 points for the project.
Yeah. Well, I would say again, just as I think you should lose a point for each tree, And you could say up to a maximum of.
Oh,
And then I think if you're keeping them all, you should get 3 points plus 1 for each tree up to a maximum of X. I mean, I think you should get really rewarded if you're keeping your significant trees. But, you know,
okay.
I mean, you know, in other words, it might be plus 1 point up to a maximum of 5 or up to a maximum of 4, but it'd be 3 plus 4, you know, but I think anyone who's building around significant trees should be rewarded. And 3 points out of, what's the goal, 27?
27.
This is a small percentage, so we should be able to somehow build it up a little more. When my niece was in school, they were allowed to get A plus pluses, A plus plus pluses, up to 3 pluses. And it's like, how do you do that? But it was all the extra credit, so you really could. And so the valedictorians, of which there were 2, and my niece was 1, had a lot of A plus plus pluses to get there. Okay. Whoops. So wait a minute. So wait a minute. So you can get number 3 and number 2
It seems like you get a total of 12, up to 12 points.
for keeping for keeping trees. No, you see.
See, this conservation for the whole, this whole
Yeah.
section.
So that's what I'm saying. They may have already kind of been reflecting what I was saying. D, you can get.
That's where I thought we were talking about the project.
D, you can
retains-
get 3 if you maintain them, and then go to E.
Right.
You
Yes,
get
you
2 more.
Yes.
So, so maybe. Do you get a total of 5?
You can get a total of 5.
Okay. Because if you retained 100%, you also retain 50%. So there's something wrong with that?
No, let me just see.
I mean, no, they're saying you get 3 points if you get 100%, and then, by the
But the
way, you can get
significant
another
trees.
2%, another
It
2
says plant
points.
material, so the project retains 100% of all the recommended existing significant trees.
3, and then number.
Landscape and
No,
its
look
coverage.
at number E, it's right
Oh.
below.
Oh, sorry.
See where the little blue is? Look, you've highlighted it in yellow.
You're right. The
Number
project
E.
preserves 50% or more of the existing healthy as determined in the tree report.
You get 2. So can you get a total of 5? That's a question. Does this mean you get 5?
You get 5. Each one is a separate category.
Yeah, but let's confirm that that's exactly what they meant.
Okay. It is. Each,
Okay.
you have an opportunity for each one of these boxes to get them amount of points that are
Okay.
listed there, so.
All right.
So, hold on, significant tree, this is replacement, but, right, this project, if you retain all of the recommended, you get 3 points. And if you preserve more than 50 of the existing healthy significant trees as determined in the tree report or the survey. Remember, the tree report,
I know.
the tree survey is only for certain lots.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, okay.
But if you're gonna get number 3, number D, 3 points for number D, you will also get 2 more points for number E, unless you never had a tree report or survey.
I'll look at
And how would you know they were significant trees? Unless you had a tree report or survey. So I just want to confirm that you could get up to 5 points.
okay. I said D and E 5 points.
Yeah. Because that seems better if what we're trying to convince people to do is keep their significant trees. Okay.
So the next is this landscape coverage, native soil conservation during construction. If you put up the yellow, the orange protective fencing around the trees, you get an extra 2 points. See, some of these things I think should be mandatory, but if it's an easy way for someone to get 2 extra points, why would they not do it? Oh, I can just put up some orange fencing and then I will get 2 extra points.
Yeah.
Healthy soil and water conservation, next one. Okay, this is landscape management plan, a long-term tree and landscape management plan.
Where am I?
3.4. Yeah. Shall be provided by the project's landscape practitioner at the time of the building permit. Recommended watering during the 5-year establishment period, summer watering, blah, blah, blah. Inspection, pruning, only for plant structure and health. And that's mandatory, so they have to do 5 years. And then the soil volume.
Yeah, but they're also saying, see, they are being required to do a plan for after meaning after the 5-year. Plant establishment period is 5 years, and then summer watering and winter watering after plant establishment, which means years 6 through forever. But that's, it's just a plan. Who's responsible for implementing the plan? I mean, in other words, the plan, this doesn't say that there's any sort of covenant to make this requirement permanent, no matter who the owner is. Because again, the normal thing with land use entitlements is, this is a good thing and a bad thing for a property owner who goes out and gets a conditional use permit or a variance, is it goes with the land, it doesn't go with the person, right? It's permanent to the land. So these requirements should be permanent to whoever's the owner and not expire. And I know that this is about the whole landscape and not just the street trees. Okay, minimum soil volume.
Yes, and that's what it is. So if you have trees on the development, and you've been approved that you have to maintain them for the life of the project.
Right,
Yeah.
but it doesn't say for the life of the project. I mean, in other words, the plan shall be provided to building management made available on the site, period. The intention is that landscaping shall be maintained for the life of the project, regardless of ownership. I mean, that should just be an added sentence, right after the word site, which should have a period after it, because we do know how to do our grammar and usage, so it's missing a period there. Okay.
So the next is parking lot landscaping. Trees are planted in a minimum ratio of 1 tree for every 4 parking spaces. I think that's what the standard is right now.
Right. Have you ever seen sprinklers going of any sort in a parking lot? No. Have you ever seen a really great high canopy trees in parking lots in South LA? No. Okay. Carried our groceries across a hot parking lot.
Oh,
Yes.
number I. The number I.
Oh.
This is the artificial turf. You're deducted 1 point. if you-
Okay, so FYI, Elizabeth is coming back early. We're gonna use July 18th, that Thursday for her meeting, since she can't do the 11th, due to governing board. And yes, we're putting this on the agenda, so.
I'm just handing it off to you
No,
guys.
I
And
understand.
actually, another one came up. There are 2 motions. One of them, I sent to you. The other one is for for LA sanitation, to do something with the water to try to filter out PFAS or something like that. I saw that the other day
Okay,
too.
so I'll look for that too.
Yeah. Oh, I can, I'll send it to you. I
Okay.
just, then you'll have 2
Yes,
PFAS too.
right. So, why can't we just outlaw the use of artificial turf? So in other words, I read back to the motion. What it basically is about is only city-owned projects.
But
No, and so kind of the next thing that Elizabeth and I just pre-talked about was, well, what about city-funded projects? Why should the city fund any that's still not this. Fund projects that use artificial turf. I mean, if you're trying to eliminate it.
I don't know what projects you're talking about besides the soccer field and, recreation parks. What other projects does the city fund that uses,
Well, I don't know, the point is, what this motion is asking for is a report back from all these different departments as to how they use artificial turf.
Many of them are
It's a
gonna come back and say, we don't use it.
Right.
Yes.
Right, but I'd like to know, I mean, when you say who funds them and what kind of projects, well, we know who the city funds. So let them tell us what kind of, I mean, I don't wanna answer the question, I'm just saying, don't forget that the city funds projects as well, or the city retains the ownership of the land. I mean, so many of these affordable housing projects, the city is retaining the ownerships. And yeah, Gramercy Housing does not have artificial turf, and the St. Andrews project will not have artificial turf.
I'm just telling you, I do not think.
You don't think it's common?
I don't, except for recreation and parks.
Mhm.
They do use it on soccer fields. They use it.
Well, what's underneath the universal play?
That is called agroperm.
So it's not turf?
It is
not fake turf?
No.
Got it.
And it's cushy, it may even be permeable, just to be honest, I don't know, so.
Yeah, well, people do use it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I mean, we have a client, real estate client, who does high-end flips, and they're constantly putting in this, and it's like, it's horrible.
Yeah. So the next one, 3.5, is just open space, biodiversity and habitat, and can't use palm trees.
Right. And yet I still see them being planted.
So number B is minimum shade coverage of uncovered areas, and it is mandatory. Now, there's some comments on this because they're climate adapted or locally native trees. So
What's a climate adapted?
that would be a jacaranda or an African fern pine. People don't like them.
I like jacarandas, but they're messy.
We've had 2 jacarandas in front of our house. I have them in the backyard. I mean, they were planted.
I could have one. I have one.
Yeah.
Someone brought it over. It's like, where'd this come from? In a pot.
Yeah.
You know, planted in your, I mean, then I found out who it was. But it's like, first I have to get rid of a couple of trees before I plant any more trees.
You have the dead avocado in your backyard.
I know.
Anyway, there were members of CFAC who had an issue because it's not native. They really want them to be
Well-
native, but my feeling is
The
if you
tree,
have no shade at all,
right.
and someone is gonna give you put in a jacaranda, or it can be an African fern, some tree.
Flowering pear, they're beautiful.
If
They
get
create a
tall
lot.
enough,
They grow fast. They give a lot of shade. They do well in this climate, and they're not likely natives.
So, I don't know, I like native too because of biodiversity.
Yeah.
I saw a woodpecker in my backyard today. A woodpecker.
You know, I saw a woodpecker, the first time I ever saw a woodpecker, Donna, you'll be amused, or heard it, ping, 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 you know, pounding away at my dying avocado tree.
Oh,
It was the first indication that we're a goner,
yeah.
because you could hear the hollowness of it.
Oh,
You know, it was like the woodpecker knew. It was,
yikes.
yeah. I had never seen a woodpecker before here in LA, so you might have my woodpecker. Okay.
So native plants too,
Yeah.
bird safe glass.
Oh, yeah, that should be mandatory.
Vertical landscaping,
That's weird.
number E.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing it. Do we like vertical landscaping?
It certainly will cool the building.
Yeah. Okay.
And then number F was greening.
Yeah, we like greening in the public realm. Okay. We get close to the end here.
That was the last page.
No,
Oh, I don't have that. What is that?
I don't know. It's horizontal, though. I can't. What is this page?
Go up a little.
Oh, they're kind of going back and saying what's mandatory, what's elective. Yeah, so they're kind of reviewing this in
Okay. And
graphic
they put it in
form.
red, so you
Yeah.
know what's.
Right. Okay. I mean, this seems to be going back to,
Okay,
all right, so I'm gonna stop the share.
it seems like we got some.
Yes, feedback. So, unless we know something different, meaning we have you're gonna talk to Michelle, we have a date specific that's in September or late August for a hearing. We need to do this at the July 11th, and we don't need to walk it through, obviously. But we would
So
need to
it'll be
have
a CIS, what are we,
this would be a letter,
okay,
a letter that, that essentially, here's our position on the current version of the proposed ordinance. And we will, and it also says that we will be addressing it in the public hearing. And then, but it would be this could be a longish letter. I mean, if you remember.
okay, I'm gonna put together these notes and I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, and then you'll bug me about the letter though, so it would
Yeah.
actually have been done by July 11th.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like, we
Well,
haven't.
because it's not just, it's the landscaping and the trees my focus, but there are other things in here too.
Of course,
So-
but what I was gonna say, if you remember when we wrote the comment letter for the housing element,
Oh my gosh.
it was about 19 pages. I mean, we obviously had.
This is not, this
No,
cannot be.
I know, but there's no 1-page limit, there's no 2,000 characters and
Characters.
spaces.
Okay.
In the end, when this goes all the way to city council, a CIS would in fact be brief. But if the letter hasn't much changed, meaning in other words, they either adopted our ideas or rejected them, or adopted some and rejected some, one would, and member council can do a CIS and say, and we also have this letter, and I think now with the new system, you can upload the letter.
The PDF to it, yes, yeah, I saw that,
Right, well,
the
that was
dashboard.
always, it was always available, but it was not conducive. I mean, it was very, very difficult to actually upload the PDF, and then you had to ask the clerk to do it for you, but they never did it combined with the actual CIS. It was always a separate upload.
okay,
So, but our strategy is, you'll ask Michelle if they've set a date.
oh, yes.
Right, because if the date is August 20th, I think we kind of don't necessarily want July 11th to be bogged down with lots of extra things, because will we have for quorum, will we be able to maintain it, we're gonna do officers, we have two funding requests. I mean, there's other things that we have to do.
Okay, I'll
So-
find out, I mean,
I know, you look like,
that's how I feel.
right.
I have no follow-up
Okay,
business.
so Donna, we're, updates to any, the only other thing on the agenda is updates to any prior thing, and I will say, without context, Hakeem today did mention to me that sometime rather soon, 1848 South Gramercy will be going to city council. Or will be going to prom, coming back,
1848.
to one that I'm recused from.
Oh my gosh, that thing is still going on?
Yeah, and I don't even have details as to what has happened in the interim. Oh, no, no,
And the school is going in the same direction it's been going in.
I'm sorry, say what?
1848, Gramercy?
No, you're talking about the school at the church?
Yes,
Oh,
and they're
Okay.
still walking around the neighborhood smoking dope. So
Okay, so I think I saw a text that included a text from LAPD saying that they were gonna go out and investigate.
yes. But our part is that McCalick is refusing to do anything. So just wondering, maybe you might want to add it to the agenda.
I'm sorry, who is refusing to do anything?
McCalick, the inspector for that particular.
Building and
McCarty.
safe, you're saying building and safety.
Yes,
Got it.
he knows it's illegal. He knows school went out for summer.
Okay,
He wants to
Donna,
wait
do you
till-
remember, has anyone talked to Pastor Eddie?
I have, and David has, and the police have.
Okay,
Do you want to
About
have
the,
him?
about the lack of conditional use permit.
All that's been discussed. That's been going on for years, Laura. Come on.
I understand. No, I understand, but
I mean, I don't know what you want me to do.
I guess I want to be copied on an email that
Well, do you want
says,
David to send that to you? I think he has a couple of times.
yeah, because
But you know,
I mean,
bottom line is you know about it. You know what's on books.
I understand that, but what I don't know is if, remember that when I schedule something for a meeting, I have to invite Pastor Eddie or whoever is the owner applicant.
You can invite he and his wife and his mother. I don't care.
Yes, but I don't have anything that says he's been alerted by anyone about the requirements for the conditional use permit. That's where I'm getting at.
David has dealt with it on a number.
Okay, well, why don't you have David forward to me some thread or another so that I can figure out what it is I'm agendizing to the planning and zoning committee, because kids smoking dope in the neighborhood is not.
No,
that isn't
Right,
it,
that he
Laura.
doesn't have.
he does not
Laura,
have
you know
conditional
that's
use.
not what we're talking about. So good night.
No, I know that.
Yeah, I think, I hear what Laura is saying, but just to be honest, we've been complaining about this, and I don't know why we need to have a letter for you to invite him to come
No,
and
I mean,
justify it.
what am I saying? Just Laura says you don't
No,
have a
with the
condition.
planning and zoning, we've been notified by the community that you have,
Are continuously operating
in a legal school.
a school, an unpermitted school that does not have a conditional use permit.
Correct. And
Okay.
we would like for you to come in and, before we move forward
With a request
with the request for
to various city.
officials, whatever, we would like for you to come in and discuss this with the community or something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
So Donna, the next meeting, we can do that. It's the mid-July meeting, the 17th of July.
Well,
can
I'm gonna
schedule-
ask David to send you all history, which I have before already. I will ask him to send all history on this
Okay.
particular, because this has gone to the city, it's gone to code enforcement, it's gone everywhere, and it's been decided, you know that.
Okay, and I know that some time ago, there was a whole thing. It was pre-Pastor Eddie. That's the main thing, is that I just want to make sure I've got the right, because, you know, he has only been there, I mean, a long time, but not long enough, because the prior whole thing was a different group of people with the same, which oddly enough were the same entity, but different people.
It's still him. It's him.
It's him now.
It's him now. That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
And that's who should come in and address this with the community.
Sure.
Well, the
Okay.
community is dealing with it. Unfortunately, the people who live in the street in the area, and we all should. If it's happening to one of us, it's happening to all of us.
Okay,
So I will ask him to please send it to you,
thank you.
so that you feel comfortable with that. But it's on them, literally, they are aware, but the inspector refuses to do anything.
Well,
I
the
think
inspector
that's-
doing or not doing something may not be relevant to a land use violation. I mean, that,
Mhm.
you know, it's a zoning code type land use
Yeah.
violation.
That's all I'm.
And what
Bring it
I'm
up.
saying is how the kids behave in the community is not a part of
I'm sorry I
a-
mentioned that. I just
Yeah.
wanted you to know what the neighbors.
No, it's what I'm saying is that was what I was getting in text this past week. It was a whole conversation about that. Okay, all right. So we're gonna adjourn the meeting.